Hey everybody, my name is Elliot. I'm a musician. Well, I'm actually a physician, but I am also a musician. I play bass, I play the ukulele, I can make my way around a guitar, but my main instruments are the ukulele and the electric bass. And I've been posting some videos of my electric uke recently, and I've been getting a lot of questions. So I thought I would just go over my setup, how I think about this instrument, and any advice or tips I can have for any aspiring players out there who want to take their ukulele to more of a electric sound. So first things first, this is my instrument. This is a beautiful, my pride and joy instrument. It's an electric ukulele made by Jonathan Mann. See there, Mann? He usually makes mandolins, so I think his website's actually mandolins.com, if I remember correctly. It's an ebony fingerboard, ebony head plate. You can see a little bit of streak in there, beautiful brown. It's a neck-through instrument with a maple neck. I believe it's a walnut stripe, but it might be cherry. Walnut body for the wings. It's very much so semi-hollow. You can see in there the whole thing is pretty. Yep, there it is. Mandolins. You can read it there. This specific model was pretty custom, even for a custom instrument. But this is his Raptor series. It is a tenor. I wanted an extremely versatile instrument, so I went with the double F holes for just aesthetics, but I wanted semi-hollow because I wanted to be able to make this instrument sound super, super warm. And I think that's probably I should stop there and talk about that for a second. I want the ukulele to be a huge sounding instrument, and even unplugged, you can tell it sounds pretty good. This is an amazingly built instrument. But a fact of the ukulele is that it's a very narrow range, which is one of the things I love about it. It forces me to think musically in a way that if it was on a guitar, I would have like so many more options, and it's like a tyranny of choice. On the ukulele, there's two cool things. If I want to express a musical idea, I don't have as many options. Fact. And so I don't get caught up thinking about how I want to express it. But also, the double edge to that sword is if I want to express something very, very big, that's intrinsically a little bit more challenging. There's fewer notes. If I want a big open sound from a very low bass root note to a nice mid and a sparkly high end, like a big chord, that is hard to do. Harder. And the way that I approach this instrument, whether it's an acoustic unplugged or an electric plugged in, is I do whatever I can to sculpt the sound to be warm and full. And that has a lot to do with how I hit the strings with my flesh and my fingers. And then as far as the point of this video, talking about my equipment, it has a ton to do with every single thing I think about with these instruments. So sticking back to the actual instrument, it's semi-hollow. It gives it a nice sustain. It warms the sound a little bit. It softens the sound a little bit. In terms of it's not as brittle. It's a little bit more just warm, and there's a bit more of a mid-punch to my ear. The koa top is just for aesthetic. It's an ukulele after all. I wanted it to be koa, and this is a beautiful piece of koa. Pickups, I totally left up to Mr. Mann. If you ever work with him, he's amazing at hearing the sound that you want and just giving very simple, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. He doesn't give you a billion options, which for me is great because I like to play. I don't like to get caught up in specs. These are humbucking, they're DiMarzio. I can't tell you anything more about them than that. There is a pickup selector switch. Down is just the bridge pickup. Middle is both, and then top is just the neck pickup, which is probably where I spend most of my time. Again, I go for a nice, full, thick sound. So I'm just going to turn this on. This is, oh yeah, there's one more knob. There's master volume, and then there's tone control. So if I turn the tone all the way off, very warm, almost like a jazz guitar, which is something that I explicitly wanted to be able to get. And then if I turn the tone control all the way on, you get much more of a higher tone sounding instrument. It's much more treble presence. Quickly, I'll just demonstrate the pickup selector. If I go all the way to the bridge, this is a very high tension part of the strings, so it's going to sound much more snappy, much more nasal. If you go to both of them, you get the best of both worlds. You get a little bit of the high tension nasal sound, a little bit of really thick neck sound. If I go just to the neck pickup again, this is where I spend most of my time. It's the thickest of them all. Again, I like to have a really thick, warm sound, and I find that I can use my fingers to create more nasal, less nasal, more crunch. I am constantly adjusting the tone control. So if I roll off some treble, palm mute on the strings a little bit. That's the sound that I like. I can boost that. Anyways, that's the sound that I like the most. Strings. These are actually Diodario chromes, which is like a flat wound. I don't know if you can see that. But you see how these two, the bass two strings, the G and the C, I play a low G, always low G. I'm a low G player. Hear these two? Versus the top two have a bit more of a sparkle and spank to them. The low two are true flat wounds, which for me is very important because I like to do things that take advantage of that, and I also think it balances the sound so the bass isn't too bassy, but it's still nice and warm. Yeah, so that's the strings, that's the instrument. I think that's basically it. I have strap locks so I don't drop it because I couldn't afford to get a new one. Okay, so moving on to how I get my sounds. Sorry, making sure this works. Taking a step back, I'm not going to tell you the specific pedals I use. You can look at my Instagram and other places and find that information. Because I just want to talk more conceptually about how I think about a signal, because I'm constantly changing the pedals on my board. These are the pedals I happen to have on right now. And I am convinced if you were to take my compressor out, play it in a different compressor, take my delay, I have multiple delays, take one of my delays out and play it in a different delay, I could get back to a happy place and it would still sound like me. So I want you guys to think about, if you have a question about my tone, I think it's more helpful to think about how I think about tone instead of which pedals I use, if that makes sense. Same has to go with the instrument, although there really aren't any solid electric ukes that are being made in mass production. There are a few different people making customs. I would be willing to say that many people can make a quality instrument. You can see I'm hedging here because I'm so attached to this instrument, and I think that Jonathan Mann is the best, but I'm convinced that if you were to give me an instrument by someone else that was of a similar quality, I could get my sounds out of it. Okay, so the first thing I actually go into is a preamp, which is not by design. It's because I use this same pedal board for my acoustics, and an acoustic instrument, ukulele, just has a piezo pickup, and that, without going down a whole different wormhole, is an extremely specific sound that if you don't sculpt, to my ears, is not a nice, pleasant sound, especially when they interact with effect pedals. So I got an extremely, I'll tell you the name of this one. This is the Tone Bone PZ Pre. This is like the top of the line. It's made by Radial. This is an extremely effective, extremely kind of expensive pedal that, like, James Taylor uses one of these. People that obsess over their tone kind of flock to this, and I am one of them. For my acoustic instruments, it shakes that piezo very nasally, very rubber bandy sound, and makes it sound much more full, almost as if you just had a microphone in front of the instrument. It also makes the pickup a bit more hot, so that I can feed it into my effect pedals, and it's a little bit more like a signal coming out of an electric instrument with like humbucker pickups. But moving on, I'm going to turn everything off, and we'll go in order. That's my raw sounds. Not very loud. My amp's on pretty loud at the moment. If I turn on my first pedal, you get more sustain. It sculpts the sound for sure a little bit. This is a compressor. I use an optical compressor. I think it smooths the sound. I don't have too much compression on there. I like to have just enough so I can have sustain. And then on this compressor, one of the things that I love about it is it has an EQ knob on it, so I can dial in the sound to be on the warmer end of the spectrum, which is a theme you're going to hear again and again from me. I like to do whatever I can to make the instrument slightly warm, and that makes the timbre. So maybe, I hate to use the word guitar-like, because this is a uke, it's not a guitar, but a little bit more guitar-like perhaps. Okay, next pedal is my MVP. This is a Klon sort of copy. Klon's a classic overdrive pedal of Lore. They're really expensive. John Mayer has like 3 in his Signal or something like that. Warren Hayes has several in his Signal. It's a very simple overdrive pedal with a classic circuit that is very specific sounding. And my Klon copy isn't, I couldn't afford, I'm not willing to spend that kind of money on a real one. But this one supposedly is the same exact circuits. To my ear it sounds the same. I use this as an always on, almost like a boost. I don't have very much overdrive gain on at all. It's actually all the way off. So I'll turn it off. This is without the pedal on. If I turn it on, and there we go. That's my real bass sound. I leave my compressor in this overdrive pedal on all the time. Let me tune up quickly. I can't stand being out of tune. But yeah, I leave these two always on. And then I use my fingers in the tone control to really sculpt the sound. Okay, so that's my bass sound. Next up in my series, I have a boost pedal, which you're going to say, wait a minute, you just had a boost. Correct. I use my overdrive as a boost, but I use it as always on to give that bigger sound if I want it, and then if I want to back off, I'll turn my tone control down and I'll use my hands a little bit differently. But if I want to take a lead, if I want to take a solo, I put a boost on. And what that does is by putting a boost after a drive, this is a true boost. This is not an overdrive. I'm not using an overdrive as a boost. This is a clean boost. And by taking a boost and putting it after a drive pedal, you're putting rocket fuel on the little overdrive that my drive pedal has. The boost is now off. My clean boost is off. If if you listen closely, you can hear some break up into the notes. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. If I then boost, that affects purpose. I get a true distorted sound. It's more of an overdriven sound. I don't tend to use like a real fuzz sound that often, although I think I would like to get a nice fuzz pedal someday. Different story, but I don't typically use one often. Yeah. That's that. Fine. I realize I don't know how to talk and play at the same time, so I'm playing funny notes. You get the point. I do have one more pedal before I get into my delay and reverb section. Yes, I have a delay and reverb section. I am obsessed with delay and reverb. I have 2 of each on my board. I have one more overdrive pedal. So if you boost after a drive, you get a clean boosted drive. If you drive after a drive, you get like more drive. And this is something that like Trey Anastasio is really famous for. He has 2 tube screamers in a row. If I turn on my overdrive, yeah, that's pretty screaming. If I turn on my overdrive and my boost, that's pretty harsh. Out of context, it sounds too harsh to me right now. But in a band setting, that would cut through the mix like crazy and actually sound pretty good. Alright, so moving on. Again, I turned off my clean boost. I turned off my overdrive boost. All I have on right now is my compressor and my always on Klon pedal. The next pedal on my signal is my first delay. This is an echo style delay. A tape style delay. A tape, there's like 3 main types of delays. Tape, analog, and digital. Digital is most modern sounding, kind of like really popular in the 90s, super clean. It like takes an exact replica of every note and spits it right back out. I guess I should say what a delay pedal is. A delay pedal is like skipping rocks. You're gonna get your note repeated, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom. So it sounds like this. I'll broaden that out. And then it fades out. Quickly going back to the different types of delays. There's 3 main styles. I like them all, but I tend to like, going back to the main theme here, I tend to like warm, thick, natural, almost like a classic rock vibe. So I don't have a digital delay sound on my board. I actually have a digital delay pedal, but I have it set up to sound like an analog. Echo is a tape echo. Is very famous by a lot of people. You know, a lot of Pink Floyd music has tape echo in it. A ton of U2, The Edge, is really famous for his use of tape echo. If I set it up a certain way, as the tapes on a tape with a literal tape cassette, as the tape degraded over time, over use, you get like artifacts, warbles, pops, clicks. Let me set that sustain up a lot more so you can really hear it. It's subtle, but you can hear that there's some degradation in there. just think it always sounds great. Yeah. Next, I actually have my big reverb. I have 2 delays. One's kind of a simple, classic delay, you just heard it. The other one's much more complex, and we'll get to it. And I got 2 reverbs. One's huge, and one's more subtle. Actually, I kind of just realized it's kind of funny. My more subtle reverb, I always have on. I haven't turned it off this whole time. So it's been on the whole time. So I'll turn that off right now. So my bass tone, so just my compressor and my always on clon pedal are on right now. So sounds pretty good actually, but I always have this reverb on. You can hear it there. It's actually kind of a lot of reverb. I love reverb. Some people will really take offense to that. And again, this particular reverb I have set, it has a tone control on it. I have it dialed back, and it sort of affects the tone of the whole sound to be a little bit warmer. So if I want to hit a minor 7 chord all the way up here on the neck, a D minor 7. While that's high pitched, it doesn't sound like ow. It doesn't bother someone. Whereas if I were to kind of turn some of my sculpting I have here off, I mean, it sounds fine there, but if I turn back some of the sculpting on, to me that sounds like a billion times better. Alright, anyway, so that reverb is always on. Where are we? Okay, so we just went through my first delay. It's a tape style delay. After that, in my feed, I actually have a reverb, and this is my huge reverb. I should take a moment to say there are all sorts of pedals out there, from like big box units where you can have like 5 million different sounds in it, frankly unlimited sounds in it, or you can have a very small little box that does one thing, like one button on and off, like my clean boost is on and off. Actually, it has a knob on it, but you get the point. I'm a person that really, in general, appreciates on-off. I don't like to fiddle with them when I play. I like to know what they do and then use them. So I got 2 reverbs. One's always on for kind of a nice lush sound. The other one I use for effect, for like, whoa, reverb. So that's this one. So here's my sound without it. And then if I add it in, clearly there's a lot of reverb going on there. But I can think it's not even bigger, because this reverb has 2 buttons, two push buttons. One turns it on and off, and the other one holds the reverb for a sustain for as long as you're holding the button, which I use all the time. And if you listen to some of my videos on my Instagram, you can know I use this a lot. Whatever, you get the point. The way I use this a lot is if I want to create a nice big ambient pad, there's 2 ways to do that. You can just hold it, You can use that sometimes on purpose for a nice like kind of whoa crazy sound, but it holds the tail of every chord, and so even if it's all diatonic chords, they're going to clash. So I tend to hold it, play a chord, and then release, play a new chord, hold it, and then release, play a new chord, then release and play a new chord. And now that chord is playing, and I can kind of play on top of it. Yeah, so I use that a ton. And again, what that does is it allows me to take this really small instrument and make it sound freaking huge. Like, okay. So we went through my first delay, my big reverb, and then after my big reverb, I have my big delay. What do I mean by that? So I'll turn everything on. The only things on right now are my compressor, my always on Klon boost, and then my reverb. So this is what that sounds like as a reminder. If I turn on my big delay, it's going to be kind of underwhelming, but I'll explain. This is what it sounds like. This is I'll just tell you the name of this because it's so unique. This is the Polymoon by Maris Audio. This is a crazy delay pedal. It does so many things. It's incredibly complex, and for someone who hates a lot of buttons, I'm amazed that I like it, but I'll tell you why. My basic setting, I have it set to kind of mimic like an analog delay. It's a little bit of the highs are rolled off the delays, and then it degrades pretty much to my ear like an analog would. And I dialed that in. You can make this sound like a very pure digital delay if you want. I shy away from that sound, so I have it dialed in like this. Sounds freaking awesome, right? Well, just you wait. So this pedal, much like the reverb had a special function with a separate button, this reverb does, or this delay does as well. If I hold down one of the buttons, it does kind of what is like a rubber banding effect. So imagine you have a tape spinning and you've recorded something on it and it's playing back. So like this note, right? Now imagine I push a button that slows that tape in half. It drops an octave, right? Like this. It doesn't just drop an octave, it slows down by half. That is huge to while I play. That is one of the ways I make this little instrument sound big. It's sort of cheating. I'm dropping octaves, yes. Whatever, it sounds awesome. Let me give you some examples of that. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned. If I release that hold, it doesn't just come back to normal. It goes to like double speed. So watch. Actually, I'm wrong. Let me, so half speed, back to the normal speed. But if I play, let's say that I played a note, so not at half speed. Now let's say I play some notes. Now I let go, it's going to go back to normal speed, but now those new notes, when I'm holding it down, are going to be double. So, to make a long story short, hear those sparkles that jump up? Amazing. And I use that all the time to create dramatic effect, dramatic pause, all sorts of things. And then that's it. That's all I got, which for me is plenty, because I use them not one at a time. I use them interactively. And so to kind of summarize, I take an instrument, electric uke, I dial it in to sound thick. I put the tone emphasis in the front pickup. I dial the tone down back a little bit. I've chosen strings that are flat tones for the bass strings to make it a little bit thicker, but also not as predominant in the mix so that it's a more balanced sound. I go into a compressor that I dial the tone back a little bit more from when I've already dialed it back. I sustain it a little bit with the compression, but not so much that it sounds like compressed. To make the sustain even more than it already is with a semi-hollow instrument, and on the softer side. So as you can see, we're taking a uke and making it sound bigger and softer and bigger and softer and bigger and softer. And then I feed that into an always-on overdrive pedal to boost it and make it sound just like much more complex. Take those frequencies and make them like dynamic. Even though it's the same notes, you're making them much more engaging to the ear. And that's always on. All that's always on. If I want to take a lead, I have two options. I can go to my boost for more of a clean sound. Or I can go to my overdrive for more like distorted sound. Then I have my delay and reverb section. If I just want a simple like delay for a typical rhythmic delay effect. I'll probably go with my tape delay. If I want something more rubbery sounding, then I might go with my poly with my more digital or analog sounding delay. I get the bonus of being able to totally mess with the sound. If I want even a bigger sound, I can put my reverb before the delay on. This is something I do that's kind of unique. Most people have all their delays and then all of their reverbs. Or I would say probably most people do it that way. I like to have a delay, a reverb, a delay, a reverb, so I can totally mess with the sound. Much like if I have a clean boost after an overdrive, the boost takes the drive and boosts what that pedal is doing. If I put a reverb in front of a delay, the delay is going to repeat the notes that have already been reverbed, if that makes sense. So watch. Right now I only have on my compressor, my clon, which is always on, and my big reverb, and then my little reverb, which is always on. So if if I feed that into the delay, that's a much different signal than this. Hugely different. Versus this. So if I turn that reverb on, and I turn the delay on, the delays are more pillowy because they have more coming into it that's a longer note. They have more legato, more sustain to them. You have to be careful with all this because it can get muddy quickly, but if you use it to effect well, like let's say I hold the sustain pedal on the reverb and feed that big sound into the delay. That sounds pretty big for a ukulele, doesn't it? At least it would add a lot to a band, I think. So I guess and then if I really want to go for it, I'll do something like this where I'll drop the reverb tails an octave with my delay. So you can dance across your pedal board to change the sound. What I just did there, poorly, because I'm trying to think and talk, and this is also new to me, was do more of an ambient pad with my big reverb on and my big delay on. And then I quickly switched into more of a rhythmic finger picking style, turned my big delay off but kept the delay on. And then I went into more of a rhythmic power chord section where I turned the delay off, turned my boost on. Yeah. So, anyways, that's my setup. I hope that answered a lot of the questions that I've been getting in DMs from people. And yeah, if you have any questions, just send me a message.